Hello, science students. Today you will be working on some picture notes that compare prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Before we get into this, I'm going to show you a little video, and it's going to show you what a prokaryotic cell might look like underneath a microscope. Guys, these are real fancy words, prokaryotic, eukaryotic, but I'll make it really simple for you. So first things first, before you complete your notes, let me come over here to this video and have you take a look. So I'm going to hit play, and what you're going to see is a bunch of little bacteria moving around. These are what we call prokaryotic cells. They are different from the animal cell that we've been talking about because they're not as fancy or full of parts and pieces like the animal cell. Take a look. Look at those things moving around. There's another part of it. You can see all those bacteria moving around. Yep, they're having a good old time. There they are. Look at that. So you have bacteria everywhere. There's bacteria on your skin. In fact, we'll watch a movie about the bacteria that you can find on your skin. Most students usually freak out. You can't, no matter how many times you wash your body, there's still bacteria on there. And most of the bacteria on your skin will be prokaryotic. So let's find out what this means. So take your pencil, come over to your paper, and at the top of your paper, please put your name. I failed to put a name, hour, and date thing on here. So I'm going to place my name. And you placed your hour, whatever hour you're in, and then please place the date. You don't have to write out the words hour and date, just write down what the date and hour are. Maybe you already have this done. Okay. While we're going through the notes, science students, you need to hit pause as needed to make sure you have things copied down the way they need to be copied down. Okay. So your title of your notes is comparing prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. What you're going to do right now with your highlighter is highlight a couple things. I'm going to choose a yellow highlighter on my screen. I want you to highlight the word prokaryotic, and I want you to highlight the word eukaryotic. Okay? These are two different types of cells. We will mostly be learning about eukaryotic, but I want you to know that these two types of things actually exist. So here we go. Once again, comparing prokaryotic, highlight prokaryotic, highlight eukaryotic. Okay? And I want you to take a look real quick, and I want you to focus on this picture right here and this picture right here. Yes, someone drew these. They are not scientific pictures. They are scientific pictures, but they're not real pictures of actual prokaryotic cells. These are hand drawings. But notice the difference. This prokaryotic cell looks like this. It has a tail. And this eukaryotic cell looks like this. We recognize the nucleus, the mitochondria, the ribosomes from yesterday. It looks more complicated and put together than this thing with a tail over here. Okay, so let's dig into this. On the left side of your page, where it says cell, this left side of your page, you're going to take your pencil and you're going to write the word prokaryote in this box. You're going to do this, as neatly as you can. And make sure I can read it. You need to make sure it's spelled right because you're copying. It's a prokaryotic cell. Prokaryotic is what goes into this first box with the word cell in it. Prokaryotic cell. Now I need you to do me a favor. Above this title, I want you to take your pencil and write something else. And I'm going to put this in all caps. Or all capital letters. This has no nucleus. A prokaryotic cell has no nucleus, and I will explain more in a minute. I said all caps, didn't I? No nucleus. Has no nucleus. Now, it does have DNA, but it does not have a nucleus like a circle shape with DNA inside of it. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in just a second. Take your highlighter and go ahead and highlight no nucleus. Oh, I wish I could have done that a little bit better. No nucleus, right there. A prokaryotic cell has no nucleus. Okay, so here we are. We have these little boxes where we will label the parts of the prokaryotic cell. Here it is. It's got a tail. Look at that. It's got these little legs, little feelers to help it move around. I want to start up here at the first box. It's pointing to the outside of the cell. Guess what? That is the cell membrane. Just like we learned yesterday. So I'm going to have to squeeze this in. I already realized that. And you're going to have to squeeze it in too. I'm going to make my font smaller so it looks more presentable. You guys are going to do the same neat job and get this in here perfectly, just like I did. Help if I could spell it right though. There it is, cell membrane. Okay, it's cell membrane. It goes around, completely around the cell. Okay. The next thing we're going to add is the cell wall. The cell wall is different from a cell membrane. We will learn more about the cell wall later. So in this box, you're writing cell wall. Okay. You find cell walls in plant cells. We only talked about an animal cell yesterday, but in your prokaryotic cell, it does have a cell wall. Next is this circle right here, little circle where I'm pointing at right now. This is called a plasmid. And you might be like, ooh, we didn't talk about that yesterday. You're right, we did not, because it's only found in prokaryotic cells. It's a type of DNA. We're not going to go into it at all, really. It's just a type of DNA. Next, you have all this junk. It looks like an unorganized mess in the middle. This is your DNA. That is your DNA. It's not inside of a nucleus. It just hangs out in the middle. That's why scientists will tell you that a prokaryotic cell is unorganized. DNA is just in the middle hanging out. Not inside of a nucleus, just there. Go to the top box. Go ahead and click on it, or excuse me, take your pencil out. We're going to identify these little legs. They are called pili, P-I-L-I. And they basically help the cell move around. If you remember back to our video, you could see them moving around in there. They move, okay? Next is pointing to this empty space right here. That's that jelly-like material that we talked about yesterday called cytoplasm. Go ahead and write that in. Make sure you spell it right, unlike me. Next we have these dots. And if you remember yesterday, we called the dots ribosomes. Okay? So that word should be familiar to you, ribosomes. Next, last but not least, is the tail. This is called the flagellum. And the flagellum does just what you think it might do. These cells can't wag their tail like a dog or a cat. I don't think cats wag their tail, but they can't wag their tail. It's strictly to help them move. That's it. Strictly to help them move. Okay, so if you need to hit pause, go ahead. Pause, make sure you have this correctly spelled and all these parts and pieces in the right spot, because I'm going to move over to the right side right now. The right side of the cell is called a eukaryotic cell. Make sure you get this written down. Whoops. Go ahead and write it down. Make sure it's spelled correctly, please. I'm going to make my font bigger for this. Oh, maybe. Make sure it kind of matches the other side. There it is, eukaryotic cell. The difference between a eukaryotic and a prokaryotic cell is that the eukaryotic cell has a nucleus with DNA inside of it. Prokaryotes have DNA, but no nucleus. It's just here, thrown in there. So with your pencil above eukaryotic cell, type, or write, excuse me, has a nucleus. Has a nucleus. You're going to have to squeeze this in, but you can do it. Has a nucleus. Grab your highlighter and make sure you've highlighted that. Hit pause if you need to get that done. Next, we will be labeling this just like we did the prokaryotic cell. We're going to start at the top right here. Oh, maybe not. Let me see if I can just... Yep, here we go. We're going to start at the top. Ignore my highlight right there. You don't need that. That was an accident. This is your cell membrane. We know about cell membranes. We've been talking about them for 2 days. Cell membrane is in your eukaryotic cell and your prokaryotic cell, so they have that in common. I'm going to go down one. This next piece right here, it is the mitochondria. Yes, it looks different than it looked yesterday because the example we had yesterday had a squiggly line through it. Some of you said it looked like a loaf of bread. It's the same thing, it's just a different way to show it. So please write mitochondria on this, in this box. Going down just a little bit, we have our ER, which stands for endoplasmic reticulum. We all agreed we would rather use the letters ER than say that over and over again. If you head back up to the other side where we have more things to label, this one is pointing to just this empty space. This is that jelly-like material that you can find in cells. It is called cytoplasm. How come it's doing that? C-Y-T-O-P-L-A-S-M. Cytoplasm. Okay? The next label is actually pointing to the place in a eukaryotic cell where all the DNA is stored. This is where the magic happens. You got it right. It is your nucleus. This is where the DNA is located in a eukaryotic cell. It tells your cells what to do. Next are the dots. Well, we know from yesterday and from our prokaryotic cell that these dots are ribosomes. They help make proteins. There's usually many ribosomes in a cell. Next is what we called yesterday our Wi-Fi symbol. Looks a little different today. Same thing. This is our Golgi body. And then last on here, but certainly not least, is our vacuole. Remember, a vacuole reminds me, maybe some of you, of the word vacuum. It stores water. So you can kind of remember our vacuum sucks up and stores dirt. Our vacuole stores water. Okay? Hit pause. Make sure you have this and it looks exactly as mine does. Below in our Venn diagram, we're going to compare prokaryotic to eukaryotic cells. So with your pencil, on the left side, you're going to label this prokaryotic. Okay, prokaryotic. We're going to write down the things that only prokaryotes have. And on the other side, I want you to label this eukaryote. And we will label this side with only the things that a eukaryotic cell has. And in the center, we're going to place both. The first bullet point under eukaryotic cell is that I want you to know that the DNA is not organized. Take your time, spell that out. DNA is not organized. You can see up here, it's just there. There's no nucleus. It's just, hanging out. The next thing that I want you to put under prokaryotic is that there is no real nucleus. The next thing, a prokaryotic cell are usually things like bacteria. Like when we started off this lesson, I showed you the microscope video of the bacteria moving around under a microscope, and we know now that we have a bunch of bacteria on our skin. We can't control it. It's always going to be there no matter what you do. Okay. And last, something that I've not told you yet. Prokaryotic cells were pretty much the first cells on Earth. They were the first cells on Earth. This cell is how these cells, the eukaryotic cells, started. Okay, so they're the first cells on Earth. Let's go to the right side and talk about eukaryotic cells. They have DNA that is organized into the nucleus. So it has a nucleus. That's where it lives. It is organized in there. It is organized into the nucleus. It's not floating around right here. It's inside this nucleus right here. Next thing that I really want you to know is that eukaryotic cells, okay, all plants have those type of cells. All animals have eukaryotic cells. Things like fungi, like your mushrooms that you eat on your pizza, they all have eukaryotic cells. And the last bullet point we're going to write for this one, and I'm going to put it in all caps. Please write this in big letters as well. Excuse me. Has a nucleus. Okay? That's the biggest difference. Okay? So take your highlighter for me, and I want you to go over to prokaryotic, highlight no nucleus. And then go over to eukaryotic and highlight has a nucleus. Okay? No nucleus, has a nucleus. That's the main difference. Let's talk about real quick what they have in common. They both, hang on here, let me make sure I'm on the right button. They both have a cell membrane. I'm going to have to make this kind of small so it fits. You're going to squeeze it in too. They both have a cell membrane. They both have it. They both have a cell membrane. They both have DNA. It's just put in different spots. They both have cytoplasm. And they both have ribosomes. Okay. So go ahead and hit pause. Make sure this Venn diagram that compares prokaryotic to eukaryotic cells is completed exactly as it is on my screen. When you're done with this video, you're going to be given some colored pencils so you can color your cells in to match the example that you will be given in the classroom. Okay, so thank you for watching, science students, and I will see you next time. Thank you, bye.